Hi, this is JP Morgan and Lars Lindstrom. We're here with another Trends from the Trenches. This is 2014. So today we're going to think about what's coming up in this next year, what's interesting to us, what's maybe some things that we can kind of project are going to happen. We don't have any idea what's going to happen. Do we have an idea what's going to happen?
I think so.
Okay, we have some idea what's going to happen. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So anyway, so what's the big topic? What's the number one thing on everyone's mind in 2014?
I think the word of the year is 4K.
Yeah, I think you're right.
And that can mean camera 4K, it can mean TV 4K, Codecs 4K, YouTube, Netflix, Amazon. Everybody's got the 4K buzz.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we've got 4K cameras coming down in cost with Blackmagic. We've got Canon just announced their C500 is actually going to be selling for $20,000, which is still expensive.
Still an expensive camera, but what was it before?
I think it was like 25 or 26.
So they drop it $5 grand?
Yeah.
What's the reason? They're not coming out with another camera or something, are they?
I don't think so. I think they're just saying, okay, well, yeah, our cinema cameras maybe are tapering off a little bit. We've got other competing cameras that are dropping their prices or coming out with new cameras that are competing prices. So they're just trying to stay in the market. And I mean, the C500 is a great camera, but I just think they missed the price point to begin with. So now with this new price point, they might be selling more of them.
Well, that's the advantage. Anytime something becomes mainstream, it really becomes a matter of now it becomes cheaper. I mean, TVs is where it's got to start. I mean, until you get everyone, and I said this earlier when we were talking, until you get everyone buying 4K televisions, then the pressure on the 4K market's not going to come.
Yeah.
But as soon as everyone's buying 4K TVs, then everyone's going to want 4K content, and you're going to see the pressure is going to get pushed right down the stream. So everyone's going to have that need. I mean, I was going to buy a 4K TV this year, but my word, they're a fortune.
They are a fortune right now.
But that's going to change. You're telling me that the Polaroid has a new?
Yeah, Polaroid just announced they're doing a 4K television line, and their 50-inch 4K TV is priced at about $1,000, which for a 4K television is awesome.
That's incredible. Is it any good? Is the picture any good?
I don't know. I don't know yet. It'll be really interesting to find out. But yeah, so for right now, that's probably a third cheaper than the next company up.
Yeah.
For a good quality 4K TV at 50 inches. So I think even Sony's their 50 inches still in the $4,000 price range.
Yeah.
You know, and that's just unaffordable right now for the consumer market.
Yeah.
But it's like we were saying, you know, 5-6 years ago, people didn't realize they really needed HD content.
Yeah.
You know, it was
DVD
like
the big thing. You know, yeah, DVD was fine.
And it was beautiful.
Standard def was great.
You know, I remember when we first got our first DVD player, my dad thought, this is the most beautiful, most wonderful thing I've ever seen. Like, we'll never need anything better. And then when people saw the difference, I think it was kind of like an eye-opener. And it changed the industry.
So when do you cross the bridge, though, and it's like so much detail is just finally just so much detail?
4K.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll never need anything better than 4K.
Are you mocking me?
No, I'm not.
No, but it's true.
I'm mocking the industry.
I'm thinking that, though. I'm going, how much more can you... But I guess it becomes a matter of dynamic range and just capabilities. And
color space.
Color space, yeah. All that's going to make it more vivid, more interesting. I mean, good grief, my GoPro that I just got for Christmas, GoPro that I got for Christmas, the HD, and it has 4K. You can shoot 4K on the GoPro, so which was a lot of fun shooting turkeys with. I tied it to a turkey and let it run around for a while, and that was kind of funny.
Did you really?
I did. It was pretty funny, actually.
That's awesome. I want to see some of the footage. We should put some of the footage on this video. But yeah, so I mean, you've got phones now with 4K video capabilities.
That's just crazy.
Which is maybe another something we should talk about. Pixels again. You know, it's just this Nokia phone with 41 megapixels.
Yeah, that's such a misnomer.
It's a cool number. It's really cool to advertise and say, hey, you can zoom in on these photos. You know, but really what it comes down to is pixels aren't going to give you the image quality you're looking for.
Yeah, you're not going to get, I mean, your sensor is going to be what? like teeny little thing compared to like the Mark III that has that huge sensor. I mean, 12 megapixels on both those cameras are not the same image by any means.
No.
And I mean, I saw that, and not to disparage iPhones by any means, but I'm taking pictures of my family with my iPhone, and at Christmas time I try to put them all together and looking at them, and I'm going, these just stink. I'm sorry, but they're just awful quality. They're just, if you want a dreamy looking shot with someone who's walking in the woods, it's great for that because it's out of focus pretty much. And so, but if you really want an image that looks good, it's just not a great camera. It isn't. You can't sell it that it is.
I will say though, to the iPhone market, that they had the right idea with this last update, where rather than just giving more pixels in the camera, they increased the pixel size.
Yeah, you said that. That's a great. Yeah. That's where it needs to go. It needs to get a larger and larger sensor in there that's going to make it more valuable. Well, eventually that's where it has to go. Phones have to catch up with cameras to the point where you feel confident a point and shoot in your phone is a little better quality because everyone's using them. I mean, the camera you have in your hand is the one that's the most valuable. Yeah. You got your phone. That's the one you're going to use. So I don't know. See where that goes.
Yeah. But back to 4K content a little bit. So TVs is one thing, but then for me, I keep wondering about codecs. You know, because you've got H.264, which it changed the industry for HD for 1920 by 1080. It's an incredible, efficient codec that looks great and compresses where it needs to. So it doesn't really work for 4K. You can use an H.264 codec for 4K, but it's still, the data rate's just way too high. So they've said they're working on an H.265 codec, which can do 4K streaming at 10 megabytes a second, which is phenomenal and awesome if it works. I just would like to see something. In the meantime,
what it's like.
Yeah. In the meantime, you got companies like Google that just announced their 4K codec called the VP9 that they're going to launch for YouTube, 4K streaming.
And so, what will that do? I mean, what makes that so valuable? What's that?
Well, now, you know, when you get 4K TVs, they're all smart TVs. You know, you can connect to YouTube, you can connect to Netflix and Amazon. Even with products like Apple TV, I think in the future is going to want to look at 4K content. It's with VP9, with H.265, suddenly streaming 4K content from Netflix or from YouTube is a reality.
Well, and that's, yeah, once you cross that bridge and the workflow becomes, you know, more manageable, then, you know, it really becomes a mainstream. So I'd love to have a 4K camera.
Yeah.
I love the one DC.
Yeah, the one DC is
which
great.
It's fascinating. I just looked last night at covers, magazine covers. There's a bunch of Vogue covers out there. There's a bunch of different fashion photographers who are shooting video, and they're just pulling frames.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a little while with the Red camera. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so it's a matter of, you know, we did a video on this talking about, you know, that whole shutter speed issue. When you're at a 50th of a second, a lot of times it's blurry. But when you get these very simple, slow moving kinds of things where you're not doing action, you can pull frames out of that very easily.
You think so?
Oh, absolutely. You know, I mean, at a 50th of a second, if a person's not jerking around, if you get someone who just kind of moves up into the camera and looks like that, there'll be a moment there where everything's sharp.
Okay.
Even on that 50th of a second, and it'll look good. And so I've seen that. If you're doing products, especially, camera can, you know, pan into the shot and then you rest for a second. Well, you pull all the frames from the rest, you know, and it's you know, the ability's there. So you kind of have to think about that when you're shooting it, you know, if you're going to pull frames from 4K, that I want to have some areas in here where I'm pausing. What I don't like about it as an image maker is it's kind of like not really making the image. It's like, oh well, I'll just grab something here or there, but you know,
you're not really confident that you got something in there.
That just, I'm going, I want to control this. I want to see the position. I want to get the look in the eyes. I want all that to come together at one moment and have the image be there. And I shoot it and I see it and I feel confident in it. Whereas if I'm just pulling frames, I'm feeling like it's just a shotgun effect.
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
You got 24 images every second, and you're not really sure what you got in there, but you fill up those cards pretty fast.
Yeah, absolutely. So I don't know. And that was a little frustrating when we did the rain thing, because I felt like we had stuff that was close, but she wasn't quite exactly where I wanted her or looking exactly the way I wanted her to look. And so it was a little, I don't know, I found that a little bit difficult. But in the end, though, we're shooting videos sometimes, and I'm thinking, gee, I'd love it if we could pull a frame from that, if we had a frame from that, you know.
Yeah.
And to have that ability makes it almost worthwhile to me to have 4K. So you're saying, you know what, there's a great image right there. And you, hopefully, as a cinematographer, we're designing a great frame.
Yeah.
That, you know, going to make a great image. I mean, if you're doing that, it's more successful as a cinematographer. It's a matter of pulling frames, and I think you're going to see more of that in the future. And I think it's a, which brings me to another topic. Can I just throw this out there? I think photographers who are not interested in one of two things are going to get left behind completely. One is you either have to do video and have the confidence that you can shoot video, or at least have a good DP that works with you so you can do video on set, or you've got to associate yourself with someone who does. Because more and more shoots, high-end shoots, if you spend $50,000 to $80,000 to put models and talent and then a location and great wardrobe out on location, and you take a few still frames of it, people are all going, hey, wait a minute, we're here. You say that all the time. We're here. Why aren't we shooting video of this? You know? And I think clients are the same way. They're going, hey, we're spending a ton of money here. We want to shoot a video piece for, especially in fashion, for a commercial, for a tag on the website.
Yeah.
I mean, there's that world is coming together.
And I think, you know, even with this wireless technology that's being developed in these cameras now, you know, I think wireless technology for point and shoots has been around for a little bit, but now they're starting, like the Canon 60 has a wireless card built in, so you can wirelessly pull images in real time to your cell phone. And this, for me, because I do a lot of events, a lot of wedding photography or video, is a phenomenal marketing tool. You know, because before it was an iPhone shot. You know.
Yeah, you're picking that up as you go.
You know, iPhones hate to be backlit. They just it's not pretty. But now I can set my exposure. I can get my Zeiss glass in there, and I can flip over to photo because I usually do video. But I can flip over to photo and just grab a couple of frames. And when I've got some downtime, I just open my phone and I pull a couple of frames, post them on social media, and people know that, hey, look, I'm out here shooting a wedding, and the quality's great.
See, I wish there's better capabilities across the board. Like the Mark III, you can't do anything like that. They had cards with their SD cards that will Wi-Fi, but they don't have a compact flash card that'll Wi-Fi that I'm aware of.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure they're not. I'd have one. If they did have it, let me know, because I would buy one in a second. But the 6D, that's the advantage of the 6D.
It is, and that's why I bought one. That is the main reason I bought the 6D. If it would be worth it for you to let all your clients know in real time, and maybe people on YouTube know, or Twitter, in real time, that we're here, we're shooting, we're having a good time, and the images are beautiful, then yeah, absolutely. But if you're thinking, you know what, I can just post these a couple days later, then no, get the 5D Mark III. Yeah.
Well, that's good. Well, I did want to mention one thing with regards to the topic of photography and video. If you haven't seen the series called Snow and looked at that online, then you really missed out on what I think is the first kind of very successful integration of those two medias together, stills and video, in a print format, basically online format. New York Times spent a fortune to send people out there and to cover that. When I was at Photo Plus, they were buzzing about it and talking about it. They spend a lot of money, which means they won't do it very often. They can't spend that kind of money every time they do an article. But in the end, what they got from it was just an incredibly powerful piece. And so you should check that out. Look to Snow at New York Times. It's really worth watching. So, have you seen it?
I haven't seen it.
It's really cool. I mean, they did video pieces about people who survived the avalanche.
Oh, wow.
Then they did written words. And then they also had like a video opener. As you open up the article, there's just snow blowing across the mountains and a video piece at the top. As you roll down, you go to the interviews, you have still images. It was just a combination of all those medias in one package.
Yeah, that is the future, absolutely.
Yep.
It's now. It's now.
It is now. Yeah. It's just financially, though, the New York Times is going, you know, we spent X thousands of dollars on that. We can't do that in every article we do. So eventually you're going to have to get a photographer, a videographer that does all that in one.
Well, you can't do it to that extreme, but you know, you get a photographer now that does photography, and he's great. He's got his Mark III, and he's really well known for photography. All it takes is a flip of a switch, and he can get some video. That's all it takes on those cameras. So, you know, and that's just one example. I mean, but every camera right now, every still camera is a hybrid video camera. And so, yeah, there's no reason why you send a photographer out in the field to go get some shots of this, and he grabs a couple of video clips too.
You know, I think the hardest switch to throw, though, in that process is in your head.
Yeah.
Because for me, I'm shooting stills, and I'm in the still world, and I'm getting images, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, I should get video on this, and I've got to flip a switch in my head that it kind of changes. It's not as seamless as you think.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult than, but maybe this next generation, and all of us, as we train ourselves more and more, it'll become more natural.
Yeah.
It'll be a matter of, oh, I got to get some still shots. I'm going to sweep in this and do a nice video piece as well. You know? Okay, I have a question for Lars here, because we are going out on a shoot here in a week, and we're shooting a 2-day seminar for video. It's going to be at least 10 hours of video in the end, 10-hour piece, 10 hours long, because they want the entire training seminar in one video piece. Not in one video piece, but edited together in one piece. So I'm thinking to myself, I set my Mark III up there and I turn it on, and I know in 24 minutes, if I don't hit the button again, no, we get 3 clips.
It's 30 minutes.
Yeah, so you get 30 minutes, and then if I'm not hitting the button, I have a problem. So is the Mark III the best camera to take and to shoot something like that with?
No.
I mean, it's going to be all day long.
It's not.
It isn't.
No. You really want more of a cinema camera, like the C100, the C300, if you want to stick with Canon. And then there's a whole slew of other ENG style cameras that would probably be better than the Mark III.
Any thoughts on what? I mean, C100 would make a lot of sense.
C100 would be perfect for the shoot. It's the most affordable camera, especially with built-in NDs. It's got incredible low noise in low light situations, and it's got built-in XLR inputs. So I'm assuming that the seminar will have a wireless mic on him that will belong to us, and possibly a PA system.
We want to pick up the PA system as a backup, definitely.
So on the C100, you've got mic line lever switches, so you can change the decibel level that's coming into the camera right there on the actual unit. You got your 2 audio sources, high quality audio compressor, and you can just put a big card in that thing and let it roll.
So even though the 64 gig card, though, I mean, you're only going to have, on the C100, what are you going to get?
It's actually really good. It's because it records to an AVC HD codec.
So it's very compressed.
Very compressed, but you still retain a lot of that quality. So you can, with a 64 gig card, you can go for literally hours.
Well, that's what we're going to need to do then, because the Mark IIIs will just be, what's going to happen is you'll be back there, fall asleep, because this guy's going to be boring, and then you'll forget to hit the button.
Yeah.
And
the C300 would be a great option too, and we know where to get it, one of those.
Yes, we do.
So
yeah, I'm thinking that just the Mark IIIs just don't make any sense. Even sometimes in interviews, when you're doing interviews, and I get talking, the Mark II was impossible.
Yeah,
I feel like you just get started every 12 minutes, and it was. That was impossible, you know, because I can't get into the flow of the interview and asking questions when you in that format at all. The Mark III is great because, you know, 30 minutes, you know, rarely go 30 minutes when you're doing these kind of short interviews.
It's pretty good.
But, yeah, it's good. But, you know, one thing that no one ever talks about is sound. I don't understand sound very well. I mean, I know enough to get by, but Lars knows it much better than I. And that whole sense of Zoom recorders and that whole, where's that all at now? I mean, no one talks about sound because it's just not sexy like cameras are. You know?
Yeah, that's true.
So come on, make it more interesting.
All right, let's see. I'm trying to think if I can make it more sexy, and I don't think I can. You've got, in my mind, 2 companies right now that have 2 great products. If you're in the DSLR market, and you're looking for something to record your sound, you've got Zoom, of course, their H4n and their HN, or H4 originally kind of created that market.
Kind of really was a pioneer in that whole market. Something
it was
very usable, and it was a great piece of equipment. So.
And I mean, the bottom line with the H4n, in my opinion, is it was just kind of a clunky piece of equipment. The menus were hard to navigate. It was really hard to change things in real time. You really couldn't change things in real time. But it was a great product when all was said and done. The biggest issue for me was that it did not have the ability to switch between line and mic level inputs. So when you go to events, I'm coming out of the speakers, and I've got a wireless mic on the other XLR input. You have 20 decibels of difference, which is like something like every 3 decibels doubles the amount. So what is that, like 8 times more sound coming in through a different channel? And so it's just hard to level out. So,
but you could, they had the older ones that we have, they had a software update where you could, line 1 and 2 could be adjusted individually.
Individually, yes, which helped a lot. But still, I mean, when you're taking a line level output into a mic level input, you have to take that all the way down to like 0.01 decibels.
Yeah.
You know, and so, but at that point, your noise ratio is so high, you know, you're just getting a lot of headroom noise. So anyway, the new Zoom H6, I think it's called, has the ability, it's got 4 XLR inputs now, which is great. Detachable mics on the front, so if you do end up using, you know, a mic on the front, if you're just kind of like doing a little interview thing, you've got the ability to purchase different microphone heads, so different patterns. You can, you know, hypercardioid, supercardioid, different mic patterns, which is cool. I've never used the onboard microphones on the H4n or the H6. And then the other company you've got that just came out with a great audio recorder is Tascam.
Yeah, Tascam's a great company.
Yes, the DR60D. And so those in my mind are the 2 good audio recorders right now, the H6 and the DR60D. I bought the DR60D because B&H was having a sale. And so, but I mean, really in my head, it was a battle between the 2 of them. And the only reason I ended up going with the Tascam, really, honestly, was because of the sale. And it came with the free version of the Pluralize software, so that was great too.
So you feel like the 2 of them are kind of head to head. You can, either way you can go is going to get about the same. You're going to get the same place.
Yes, you've got both your mic and line level inputs. On the Tascam you only have 2 XLR inputs, and then you've got a 1/8 inch 3/4 input as well. And then, but on the H6 you actually have 4 individual XLR inputs with individual volume control, which is nice. So that would explain the price difference. There is a little bit of a price difference there. But both great recorders. They came out with some really great things. There's one thing about the Tascam that I absolutely love. You have the ability to record a second channel as a backup, but it records it a certain amount of decibels lower.
You're talking about this.
So yeah, so you never have to worry about losing any information. You set your levels where you think it's pretty good. You know, it's a little bit maybe punchy or hot, but you want that. You know, there's always a balance between noise and how soft it is, between how hot it is. So, but now you can just kind of set your levels where you think it's going to be good, and then when someone laughs or something like that, and you clip and distort the audio, where before that's it, it's distorted, you lost it.
You lost it. Now
you can set it. Okay, I want this to record 6 decibels lower or 10 decibels lower as a backup track.
Well, that's a great thought. So you have it's just something that keeps you from losing the high end and a backup. It's a nice feature. So do you have to turn that on, or is it on automatically? Or
you have to turn it on.
You have to turn it on, then you have to set how much lower you want it to be?
I think you can set it. I think you can. You have that option. I can't remember if it's like a set 12 decibels, 6 decibels, something like that.
Yeah.
I know I've seen the feature and I've turned it on and I've used it.
Very cool. Well, there's a thought about sound. Sound baffles me to this day, because we'll put a good boom that has a really good shotgun mic on it, and I still don't think it sounds as good as a lav on the person that we're doing. You love the boom, but I
love the boom. And here's the thing, booms are picky microphones. And you've got to, and it's, as soon as you understand how they work and where that pocket of sound is going to be the best, then you get it, and you can usually pick up a better sound. I think you like lavs because it's so directional. It's just so close to the source, and so it's just great punchy audio, just right out of the box. But booms really are a much better quality sound. It sounds much closer to the human voice if you have a good quality boom. But they're picky microphones because of that.
Which we do. We have a good quality boom.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's one of the best. But it's a very picky mic.
Yeah.
So
everyone's going to come and ask me, what boom do we have?
It's the MKH 416 from Sennheiser.
Thank you. So anyway, there's a little touch on sound. It's something we should talk about more, actually, as you know, we're going to do a series of videos about sound at one point, and may get back to that thought. So, all right, I don't know what else is exciting about this next year. For me, I know this. When I go to NAB this year, which is coming up very soon here, it's about 3 months away, at NAB, I promise you, you can quote me on this, the Movi that came out last year, that really easy way to move your camera, there'll be at least 4 or 5 others of those there. It's basically a gimbal, on a handheld gimbal. It's it's going to be, everyone's going to have a version of that at NAB this year, I'm thinking.
At a fourth of the cost.
At a fourth of the cost. You know that's where it's going to go, because it was very innovative. There's no doubt about it. It's extremely innovative. Just so we go on to this next topic, is one that I think is going to become more and more in play this next year. I don't think it's going to take over the market this next year, but I think mirrorless cameras are going to become a stronger and stronger alternative for several reasons. They're small, easy to use. They just have a very small platform. I think, though, that the transition is going to be slow, and the reason all transitions like this are slow is because we've all invested so much money in DSLR equipment and lenses and everything else. And I know you can get an adapter to put your lenses on the cameras, but in the end, you know, everyone's going to want to make that switch over. So who's going to be the head of that market? I don't know. It's fascinating to me that Canon's not in that market yet.
Yeah.
They don't have anything. There's no dog in the race yet. You know, I don't think Nikon, I'm not positive. It's more the other camera manufacturers that are creating the pressure. And now I think Canon and all the major camera manufacturers are going to have to start to say, you know what, if we don't get on this, we're going to lose out.
I'm curious, what are the advantages of a mirrorless camera system?
Well, I think it's mostly size at the moment. It's just size, and I think that's basically it. I wish I knew more about it. I'm not an expert on mirrorless cameras. I mean, everyone says, in the beginning when they said, hey, you got to have a mirrorless camera, I go, yeah, you know, like, it just didn't mean anything to me, you know? I'm in so much in the DSLR world that I know of them. I shot the new Sony camera at Photo Plus and loved it, quite frankly. There's some things about it I really liked.
Yeah.
It felt like an amalgamation of a video camera and a still camera in some ways. It has some of those features, you know, just the way you're looking at you've got peak focusing on the back. You've got some of those features that I really liked.
But for me, that's more software things, and that's something that
we've talked about that before.
Canon or Nikon, with a firmware update, they could have those in their cameras. But I'm wondering, you know, size. I do understand that how that could be an advantage, but I almost feel like I like that grip.
There's a point where, you know,
yeah,
hey, this camera's smaller.
It's like, you know, where it's like this doesn't feel safe to me, you know. But having a nice grip is just kind of that just feels comfortable, and I don't, you know. If you know, with the lens on there, it's 4 pounds. I don't really care, you know. If you're gonna have a massive lens on a tiny little body, I don't want that either.
Yeah, well, how does that make any sense? You know?
Yeah, and
although the lenses on mirrorless cameras that are made for the mirrorless cameras are smaller as well.
Are they?
They are. Yeah. So I mean, they're smaller. You know, we don't know enough about this to really give you any great advice. So.
Well, which is good, because I'd love to know, you know, if you have any comments. To post them
tell
below,
us. Bring us up to speed. I'll do some reading on this and kind of figure out mirrorless cameras a little better. We can talk about it in the future, because I do know that it's one of those things that is like the proverbial small chihuahua that you think will never bite me, and then it turns around and bites you right in the rear end when you're not looking. Because I have a funny feeling that's what this is. Yeah. That it's going to come up and become the standard, the next standard. It's going to become the next move, and in the camera industry for stills especially.
Have they resolved the viewfinder issue? Well,
the viewfinder is the issue. You're looking at a refresh rate on a screen, you know, which sometimes can be a little slow and doesn't give you a true picture, whereas with a DSLR, you're looking right through the frame. You're framing it, you know.
Real time,
that was one of the disadvantages. Although I think the Sony is much better. I think
I'd love to get one.
Okay, we're gonna have to buy. Yeah, we'll get one. That's a great idea. I'll get Lens Pro to go to send us a mirrorless camera. We'll go out and shoot a shoot. Yeah. We'll do our next shoot with a mirrorless camera. That's a good idea.
Let's do it.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And we'll give you the what for about mirrorless cameras from JP and Lars. I want to take just a couple of minutes and ask you just a couple of thoughts about your business.
Okay. Yeah.
Because you talked about it this morning.
Yeah.
So where's it going? What you just shot as a still photographer a wedding. And do you know what I said? I said there's no underestimating the stupidity of the market out there.
But I showed you some
and that
images.
was not meant to be an insult to Lars at all.
And I was very offended. But I showed you some of the images. What did you think?
The images were fabulous. They truly were. They had, I mean, you have a great eye. You know how to light. You know the cameras. That's the thing that's so interesting about all this stuff, is these two worlds are so close together.
These hybrids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so it makes it so simple. So yesterday he was only did video weddings, and then all of a sudden now he's a video photographer. And the images you have, people will buy.
Wedding photographer.
Wedding photographer.
Yeah.
I mean, the images you have, people will buy.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Why will they buy them? Do you know why they'll buy them? I know why they'll buy them.
Why do you know they'll buy them?
No, I want to hear if you know why they'll buy them.
there's no limit to the stupidity of the market, right?
So they'll buy them because they look exactly like what people love right now.
Yeah.
It's this more exposure. It's lighting by exposure. You know, they're backlit. You open up the shadows, and they feel very documentary. They feel very real life. You know, it's that look, and the look is. I mean, you pulled it off, you know, fabulously, and that's why it'll sell, because that's really in right now. Especially with that whole hipster movement, which I'm sure is long gone, and there's a billion other movements that have come on, but it still lingers, that sense of nostalgia, and they feel like that. They have that sense.
You know, because the wedding video company that I own is all about capturing a raw motion. And that's ever since I first started. It was, I didn't even want to have the couple know I even was there. You know, I want to just capture moments, and that was my thing. So making the switch to photography, you know, you have to direct. You have to. So that was a little bit different for me. It was, okay, now move like this, put your hand like this, okay, tilt your head back. You know, that part was different. That was the hardest part for me. But for the most part, lighting, it was a cinch. And I'll be honest, I had a blast.
Did you?
I had so much fun.
I think the hardest part about being a photographer on a wedding shoot is that you have to control the day but not destroy the day.
Yes.
You know, and you have to be there to make sure that everything is covered, but you don't. Photographers that just become obnoxious about the fact that I'm here and I have to get all the images I want. You can't destroy the day.
You got to leave your ego at the door.
Absolutely.
It is not for you at all, being there.
Yep.
And it is, you have to, that is the one thing you have to remember more than anything. I totally agree. It is for them, 100%.
But the still photographer drives that, usually not the videographer. And so you've crossed now more into that category, which means more directing. And you have the ability to do that. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you know, I've directed music videos quite a bit, so it's not a very uncommon world. And I had so much fun. I really did. But as far as the business goes, I loved wedding photography, and I'd love to do more of it. So right now, the name of my business is Romantic Wedding Videos. You know, so that doesn't work for photo. If I want to do photo, I have to change something. And so the 2014 goal has been to dissolve romantic wedding videos and to create something a little bit more personal, something Lars Lindstrom Media, or Lars Lindstrom Pictures, as we mentioned before.
Yeah, I mean, I went through that with mine, JP Morgan Photography for years, and then when I started directing, it was JP Morgan. We were going to do JP Morgan Films, but that's like, that kills all the photography, so it became JP Morgan Pictures.
Yeah.
You know, just a natural. So, well, I think that's exciting. I think, but again, because these two worlds are so close together, I mean, the opportunity presents themselves. So as a photographer or a videographer, you ought to be prepared to be able to do both those worlds and be comfortable in both those worlds and get comfortable.
I was telling, I had a photo assistant come with me, Caleb, and he's kind of new in the photo world, and he was asking a couple of questions about photography, and I determined that photography is 10% exposure, 20% composition, and 70% confidence. And that's a completely made up statistic, you know, by me. But really, I think that, you know, I had this couple approach me, and they thought for whatever reason that I did photography, and they said, we want you to shoot our photos for our wedding, because they called me and said, we want you to do our wedding. I said, great, what do you want in your wedding video? And they go, no, we want just photography. And without even batting an eye, I didn't even, I just said, great, we can do that, you know, like, you just go for it.
That's this industry in general. I can't tell you the number of times I've gotten a call saying, we would really love to have you do this and this, and I'm going, absolutely, we can do that. We do that all the time. And then you hang up the phone going, how in the world are we ever going to do that, man? Yeah. I mean, that's this business, because everything's a new experience on some level. Yeah. You know, so. All right, well, that's a transition. We have a business coaching class that we're starting up soon that talks about just getting your business started. And this was not meant to be a segment into that at all, but we are doing that. For those who are interested, just get on our website, and it'll be a place where you can just see when it's coming and what will happen there. It might be interesting to you. I think there's a lot of interesting topics out there. We'll continue to talk about them, and I hope you find this interesting. Give us your feedback. You know, what would you like to hear us talk about? Are there things that would be of more value to you? And we'll keep addressing them once a month. So this is our January segment, 2014. Of Trends from the Trenches, and I hope you found it interesting. So, JP Morgan and Lars Lindstrom. We got a lot of great stuff coming in the next few months. Our business coaching class comes up real soon, so get on our newsletter. It's at theslantedlens.com. Great information about photography, photographic lighting. We hope to make life easier for you, to give you the information and the tools you need to be able to be successful in your business. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram and Twitter. We also have a brand new webpage they just put up. A lot of great information there, easy to use. Go to theslantedlens.com. We're now posting all of our videos first on theslantedlens.com before they hit YouTube. They'll be on there for about a week to 2 weeks before they come to YouTube. So if you want to see them first, go to theslantedlens.com. So keep those cameras rolling, keep on clicking.